it's a marathon. You have to keep rebooting, don't you?
Well, I mean, I've got to be really honest with you, Angie. I mean, this is bringing my marriage to the edge. My wife, like,
Oh, didn't see that. Yeah, that's bad. That's
my
bad.
my wife, like many others. I mean, I've had to let me give you a little background about me.
Okay.
Um, I, by default, I'm a human. I've worked in television all my life. Um, I over the I've been a great follower of David Icke for many years. I think I probably fully woke up about 8, 9 years ago. Beyond that, before that, I believe the official stories for everything. And so when the whole Leon Britton thing, the 141 dossiers came up, it just dawned on me so heavily that if that were me, I would be arrested and questioned at the police station. So I set up it was the first time I really put my head above water, and I put an online petition on 38 Degrees, which just before he miraculously died of cancer that nobody had ever heard of that he had before. I had about 6,000 signatures on, and I was properly campaigning on it. And so because of that, obviously, and because of the sort of stuff I look at, my YouTube feed brings stuff up. My birthday was February 11th. I didn't go online at all on my birthday. On the 12th, I was working, but I noticed that the thumbnail. I just noticed the thumbnail of Papa Kills Babies. And so I didn't click on it until the 13th. And obviously, you only have to watch the first minute before your hairs go and the emotions start flooding. When they mentioned the school, obviously I paused the video. I Googled the school. The school's website was at that point still the top URL, but it was down for maintenance. And see, more poignantly, and the thing that's really got me on this, I live in Kensal Rise, and I'm very lucky. I've got a big house at the top of the hill, and out of my bedroom window, I look down the valley of Kilburn and Brondesbury up to Hampstead and Highgate, so I can see the spire of Christchurch from my bedroom window, and this made it more poignant for me. It was then half term. I was away working for 4 or 5 days, and then I was away in Devon holidaying with my kids. And talking, I'd made a pact with myself that I would tell everybody I met, and that was strangers, to the point of it actually becoming manic. And I realised I was manic. And I don't feel unjustified in that mania, to be honest. However,
Everybody, I think everybody, I staggered for a week. I was absolutely in PTSD. It was horrendous. I don't know anybody that could have watched. I saw 24 videos, I think, but I had to pace myself. And I think the last one I watched was Retraction, and that brutalized me more than the authentic disclosures.
oh,
And
me too.
I didn't even watch this Retraction because I just hit a brick wall with and I thought I've seen enough. Now let me see what I can do.
Yeah. Well,
But everybody who has any sensitivity at all was walking around just mind blown for.
literally numb. I mean, I still feel numb I go on and off every now and then. The enormity hits me again. I find it, even the original videos, when I do on the occasions I'm showing them to people now, I find them very hard to watch.
I just wanted to say a brilliant idea I had. I would like somebody to, from the disclosure videos, edit out the graphic stuff. I just had this idea this morning. If somebody edits original disclosure videos and makes them, without losing their integrity, but makes them palatable to what would normal viewing public. And I want to do, as a survivor, somebody with a lot of experience, including dark from infancy up abuse. I want to do a running commentary.
Can I just pause you 1 second?
Yeah,
well, it's really interesting
to do a running commentary and point out to your normal Joe public who maybe doesn't have much experience with abuse. I want disclosing, and I want to be able to pause and say now and make a case for why they're so credible.
Yeah.
And actually, it's like an on-screen analysis of why so many people believe the children. And I think if we could present that in a palatable way without too much, I understand that most viewing public, their mind switches off when it gets too graphic.
Yeah.
But if we present the essence of what they were disclosing with, let's blur their faces for the purposes of this, disguise their faces and not put names in, but just do a video analysis of why they're so credible.
So you're absolutely right, and what I got when I first became properly aware of which, I'll just backtrack one step. So when I got back from half term, I drove back from Newcastle overnight. I got home at like 6 a.m. I had a couple of hours sleep, and it was the first Monday of the new half of the term, and so I was taking a dog for a walk, and I thought, what are you doing? You've got to go to the school now. I expected to see hundreds of people. On that day there was no one. Obviously, I've been down on the Sunday outings as well, and so the first thing I was, obviously it's quite, if you're there on your own, it's quite, and I'm pretty bold. I'm an activist. I'm not scared. I've lived in London all my life. I'll front anything. But there was an energy.
I went there on the 12th. I went to the church service on the 12th.
Did you? Did you go inside?
Yeah, I did. I went. That's why the Radio 4 interviewed myself, because they thought I was a normal Hampstead person that would validate their party line. The same with Carolyn, the other girl.
I know
she was there, and with her child, and looked very Hampstead middle class, and the reason we weren't featured, other than the fact, I mean, it wasn't that we said we'll take legal action because Sabine threatened that and they still featured her. It was that they didn't expect that to be saying what we said. I came out, I went to church, stayed in for the service, went to the toilet, took some photographs, came out as Father Paul was saying, I better not go out there with a glass of Chardonnay in my hand, and so on and so forth. And then I went and sat and observed some guy giving an interview, a video interview to a student. So Melanie Abbott interviewed us thinking we were going to say, yes, these protesters are terrible and it's awful. And when we actually gave her, argument after argument after argument and pointed her to evidence, she didn't feature either of us. Of course she didn't. It didn't go with what she was doing.
And what she did, I mean, because of my work on TV, and this is, so what you started off by saying is exactly where I'm at as well. Because I've produced and directed documentaries, I used to be a presenter. This is all very normal to me. And I said to Sabine when she told me that she was going to retract her consent, I said, you've got no chance because they'll use public interest as the way to get around it. You don't have to have consent. The BBC don't have to have consent if it's deemed to be in the public interest. However, I mean, as I put in the mail, the email that I've just sent off to Joe Ken, to not as a Mackenzie friend and to actually state that, that they met because they both love us as yoga. I mean, that makes them sound complicit and accomplices within this, which it couldn't be further from the truth.
It was disgusting.
Yeah. So back to the film idea. So my initial contact with Belinda and then with Sabine. I mean, I speak to Sabine on a daily basis, and my oldest daughter, she's 19, and she's doing she's at SOAS doing social anthropology, and she's one of us, very big star and quite an amazing being. The documentary was where I started off from. Because it's my skill set and it's what I can do. And as you quite rightly pointed out, what I can do really well, I know how to package something in a way that is absolutely spot on for the public. However, and I've had to retracted this. I had a massive argument last night because I was basically arm up my back, by my wife, who, what, the thing is, I get it, because people don't want to understand. People don't want to, but I don't want to believe this. I wish that I want, as I was saying last night, I hope to be proved totally wrong. That would be the best possible outcome. But the evidence suggests that that's not the case. And worse than that, the reason I can't let go, it's not just for those children. It's not just for the other 20 children. This is the whole of society. This is the same people that are prepared to let 30,000 people die of hypothermia while they make profit from gas and electricity, who are prepared to sell arms to countries and then bomb the fuck out of them, are the same people. They don't care. In order to get to that space, they murder children. I mean, it's obvious. And what I'm angry I didn't put it in the mail, because you know that if you even just Google how many children go missing a year in the UK, the number's 140,000. They state that some of these are teenage runaways, and they even use the word row, which is ridiculous, having had rows with their family. But then they say, but a significant number are known to fall into the hands of criminal gangs. Now, this isn't a load of toothbrushes coming off the back of a lorry. If you find a child, you do something good with it. You find
keep a database nationally in England of stolen cars. They don't keep a database of missing children.
And we know why.
Yeah, this goes back decades. It goes back decades. I was just agreeing with you on the fact that I'm an activist too, and I did sit through the church service, and after the church service there was going to be an AGM with including electing more leaders of the nursery.
Right.
And I would have liked to have had the courage to not only sit in the church service, but also to go to the AGM afterwards, which was open. But I didn't. So it's a very dark place, and don't be angry with yourself.
No, what I did, I got there, and a woman with dark hair, and another friend that had exactly the same experience. He went 2 days after me. Instantly came out and stood staring at me. I was the only person in the square outside the church. And so, without batting an eyelid, I just picked up my phone and started talking, right, as if I'm on the phone, and I walked down the lane. Now, there were two, again, look, I've got 3 kids, and I know how things work. If you are doing building work anywhere, and if it's a public building, even more poignantly, you have to have signage up stating who you are, who the architects or the builders are, loads of special royal symbology or whatever on it. And if you're doing building work in a Christchurch school in Hampstead, surrounded by £20 million houses, your workers will have your logo on, because you want people to see that you're trusted builders. There were 2 old men, and they were bricking up. I've got video of this. They were bricking up along the side of the church, which again, this is assumption, but I'm thinking if they've got secret rooms, they have to have air holes. I mean, they have to have air coming in and out. And so in my head just went, shit, that's what's going on. And that's what they had. The tools were from a local hire place. The cement mix was from this was not normal building. And so the alarm bells started ringing straight away there that, oh my God, you know, everything is everything. For me, that was an affirmation, and it took very little. Once the police videos came out, that was the end of it anyway. So my instant reaction was, right, okay, I'll make a documentary. I'm gonna go and vox pop people on the streets of Hampstead. I'm gonna do lots of pieces to camera around the school and the church, and then I'll piece it together with the footage that's already existing, but actually cherry picking the best bits, and so that people actually get the point, rather than look, Abraham and Ella did a pretty good job, but equally it's amateur, and people that don't understand can go, well, hang on, listen to him. And I'm like, well, no, don't listen to him. Listen to the children, right? Just really listen to the children. If one of my children made an allegation that somebody had slightly touched them too high on their leg, that would be the end of it. Now, Dearman didn't mention anything like this. How? I mean, this is the thing. Are you aware of crisis actors?
Crisis actors.
Crisis actors. So I'll send.
Tell me that. Crisis. What was the second word? Actors.
Crisis actors.
Yes. No, I'm not.
So, right. As an example, there's a woman who, again, you only have to play the odds game. She was interviewed at the Boston bombing. She was interviewed at 9/11. She was interviewed at Sandy Hook. Same woman, again and again and again, right? And it's the same. There's a bloke that was there, and these people, most of these, really interestingly, if you have a look at the Sandy Hook event, which was,
I know.
Well, that whole, it's the whole village. It's the whole village involved. It's not It's like Hampstead. It's actually a total coven. It's not.
It's like France. Yeah, MK Ultra, the guy in America, and he talks about whole villages that are, that definitely is. And it's not just that. I think it does link up to Rotherham, Yorkshire, the Parliament, the elite. It's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected. Have you seen? Sabine posted it. The documentary made in 1990 for Dispatches.
Yeah. Is that the one about the satanic ritual abuse in up north? Yeah, I did. And
it's watched there on Rotherham. I'm not sure which one.
Rotherham.
There's aerial footage of the town, which the town has been built exactly like Paris. There's a circle in the middle. There's all the lines coming off, and it looks like a giant owl from the air. I mean, that's what it looks like. Yeah. So so for all of this to happen, we all know that what I'm going for, and the reason I'm going for this, and what I'm trying to explain, and I have to wait for her to get, she's working today. This is the equivalent to me of, people feel pride in their grandfathers for either dying or fighting in the war. Now, I believe that personally.
Do something now, we never will.
This is it. This is it. I can't live with myself if I don't.
It's a watershed. But at the same time, I've learned that I try and take 21 day a week where I don't go online. I haven't succeeded very well since Hampstead.
It's really hard.
I have a structure where Mondays I don't go online. I just do whatever. If it's under the duvet watching true movies, if it's visiting a friend, I try and do that. I also try to remember that there's no point in me saving the world if I'm neglecting my family. I'm a single parent. My youngest is 18. He's the only one left at home. But I don't want it to be that, oh, be quiet, I've got an emergency here. And then, So I totally try and balance it. I've just sat down with my son and planned the weekend, right? He's got some study to do. I've got some work to do. We need to do normal stuff to keep the house and the car and the logistics and turning over. So it's a balancing act. It definitely is. And if I were you, I'm not, I mean, how dare I advise, but I just...
I'm really up for it.
Right, but with your wife and kids behind you, your productivity and your efficiency will at least double.
Of course.
At least. So, and when there's tension right in your environment, it's very hard to be your most effective.
Well, I'm being told, why am I putting all my energy into this? All of my energy should be now. All my energy is forever and only being into my family. That's how I am. Yeah. But when I embark on a project for work, same as my wife. She's on a photo shoot today. She's a stylist. All of your energy goes into that for that period. But this is sustained. And actually, from my perspective, this has actually been very short term. A couple of months is nothing in the scheme of things, and however long this takes is how long it goes. And I don't know how far I'm prepared to go yet. When I say how far I'm prepared to go, I know how far.
It's my life, and I know that. And I decided that I had a cancer scare last year. I had two surgeries. My youngest is 18, then 21, then 28, and 2 grandkids. But I after the second surgery, where I thought I was facing 3 months to live, whatever, and had a miracle, I came home. I disclosed almost immediately about some corruption in Ireland, about police corruption, and about illegal drug cartels. So risked my life on both those. I said to my boys, my children, look, I'm going to go back into the fray. I've raised you well. I've equipped you. You know how to pray. You know how to, not always believe things are as they seem. I've done my very best by you, but I couldn't live myself if I let this fly. So I just said, don't believe any sudden death. Don't ever believe a suicide story about me. I will never willingly put your lives in danger, but I'm willing to risk mine. And one daughter cut me off for a couple of months. She was outraged, and that was difficult, but they're pretty much behind me. And what better example can you give your kids? Part of your job as a parent is to role model for them integrity.
Yeah.
So what better example can you give them than, look, some things are worth a bit of discomfort. Some things are worth a bit of sacrifice. At the same time, let's have our quality time as well. Let's go for dinner. Let's chat.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's our life is like that anyway. And my oldest is 19, so I'm on a slightly different spectrum to you. As you've seen, my youngest is 10, and so of course my oldest is completely aware of this and is completely supportive and thinks and is very proud of me as I'm very proud of her for doing the right thing. We've accidentally bumped into each other on protests that we didn't even know the other was going at, which was like I was in the middle of screaming at a policeman on Parliament Square, and I just said, "Dad, yeah!" My son's 14 and he's a big guy and he's getting it. But of course, I've still got a 10-year-old who I can't talk to anyway. I'm not prepared to talk to her about this stuff yet.
What is your wife upset at? You not spending any quality time together?
No, because I do spend quality time. Of course I do. I mean, I would consider myself to be a bloody good parent. I've been at band practice this morning. We're designing logos for my daughter's new band. I've just cooked lunch. I've tidied the house. This isn't all I'm doing. And also, I have a day. Sorry. I'm self-employed in television. I have to generate work the whole time. So this is what I do. But of course, this is taking some time. Of course, this is taking some time. But it's not the time. It's not the time that's the issue. It's the fact that I have to for my sins, and I've been reading up anger management, which I've always been. I can fly off the handle fairly quickly. But the thing is, I find that I only fly off the handle to people that I know because it's easier there. If down at Christchurch the day, I don't know if you're down there was pissing down. I can't remember what day it was. I was only down there for I could only do about 40 minutes. But in that time, there were some people barking at the police, and there was this one policeman, I'd see him switched off. So I took him to one side and I talked very calmly about it, because I feel that that's a way of getting understanding. And instead of going the whole way to treason and the cash, all the stuff that I know and understand and believe, I try and keep it very simple. There have been very serious allegations, and there has not been an investigation. And that, for me, that's it.
A lot of the evidence has gone, like you said, because because nothing was forensically preserved. A lot of the evidence has been covered up.
Do you know what? Those tattoos, people say they can have had them removed. No, you can't have a tattoo removed without knowing it's happened. I inadvertently, one of the named parents is a friend of mine's. It's in a friend of mine's outer circle. So it's a family that they meet with at barbecues and dinner parties, maybe 2-3 times a year. And he's one of us. He's not as deep into this, but I've explained it. And he said, "God, I know this guy." I mean, I've got friends that are very willing to basically not kidnap, but quite literally restrain, remove trousers, take photographs, and go. But do you know what? I don't even need that evidence. And there's I've got mates that want to go and kill. And
there has to be some police willing to, this sympathetic, willing to give the children and return them mother out of the country. But having thought, because at first, that's your gut instinct. Of course, you'd like to rescue anybody that's being brutalised. But Ella's choice to come back to England when they could have just stayed away and and on the same lines, if we rescued just or not we, but the police or some whatever, one, capture their lifespan. 2, they giving them ground share of criminals, and 3, all the other children would be still left in danger. And so I believe that it can actually be overturned legally and with everything, including, especially, that's my field too. I'm not. I have a degree in theatre. I went to Warwick, and I'm comfortable. I've done a lot of acting and stuff like that as well for my sins. I don't like to even own up to that with Ricky Dim.
Me too.
Yeah, but I think we can do it legally, and I think we can take the higher moral ground and make it real. And the balancing act I was talking about is because I understand most of the public, they reach a saturation point and they go, stop listening. And I think as broadcasters or whatever, media people, our job is to give them enough information that they know, okay, there's truth here. It's like you said, the policeman reached a brick wall. You said that, and then spoke to him in a way that he could.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, he thanked me and said, "I'm going to now do my own research on this."
Yeah, yeah, and so that's what I was woke up with, and you know, it does all link up. And
look, most of these. Here's the thing. I'm with you. I mean, I'm quite dubious about the abject legal route, although, as I stated,
well, the law doesn't work. This is why
it's made by people to do it. So
yeah, and this has been done. This has been done since the 40s, the 50s, post World War II. They've been planning how to mind control, how to manage nations, how to manage people, how to change their perceptions, how to normalise perversion. This has been a 50-year project.
Oh, they've done it really well, so well they deserve medals, right? But here's the irony: they give themselves medals.
Well, they've shot themselves in the foot, because every time the BBC, like the two things the BBC did this week, and Justice Poffley and what have you, people's perception of when something's not right is rising, and all it does is throw people back into research. So everything they normally do that they get away with is now backfiring.
So because I don't trust the law, and I do trust, here's the thing, I do trust an awful lot of policemen. They're in a worse situation than most of us, actually. Their job is so on the line.
I'm optimistic about the police.
Yeah.
They're better behaved. I live in Ireland. They're better behaved than the Irish police. The police are, they are, the first whistleblowing I did in Ireland was because there's corruption in the police in Ireland right up to a government minister, and most of the police know that, and they either are grabbing early retirement or just afraid to speak out because they said there's no point, it goes so high, the corruption is too embedded. So I blew the whistle about that, and I think, I just was told that my YouTube channel would be monitored and so on. But the police I live in Ireland. I went to London for the Parliament protest and to go to Hampstead, and I was very encouraged by I would say the police are a real asset. We need to empower the ones that are showing willingness to listen, willingness to like, what can I do? Am I going to put my wife and kids? Am I going to put my livelihood? Am I going to lose my pension? Am I going to be done under the Official Secrets Act? Am I going to be harassed? And, like, even with all those risks, am I willing to do something?
Yeah, and that's the big one, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. Did you see the Newsnight about Cyril Smith? It was about a month ago now.
No, I tell you why, I can't get BBC iPlayer here unless
I'll send you a link. It's on. I'll write that down to do that now. It's on.
As long as it's not a BBC iPlayer link.
No. It's a YouTube link, and it's only a 7-minute film. But it's a whistleblower. It's a whistleblower cop that was on a raid that actually arrested Cyril Smith in the act, and he was caught on video. They took him to a station. He walked out that night. They were threatened with the Official Secrets Act. And this is the BBC have actually published this. And the other interesting thing, I don't know if you're aware, when very quickly, the minute I get names, I want to research the names as well as I can. And some people are very hard to find out about. Melanie Abbott, for instance, apart from the fact that she interviewed Jonathan King, which Jamie Oliver went mental. There was a big public furore over that. When he came out of prison, she interviewed him. It's very hard to find anything about her online at all. But Eleanor Plowden, the producer, her father and her grandfather are both peers of the realm. Her family goes all the way back to William the Conqueror. They're on the peerage.com website. It took me less than 2 minutes to establish. This would be the same as bringing Butler Sloss into the historic paedophilia review that's going to take at least another parliament to come to fruition, to fall apart, no doubt. But of all the producers in the BBC, the odds of the one that's dealing with this being on a peerage site, her grandfather was double knighted. I mean, you know, the odds are zero. It's not possible for that to be.
It seems that Joe Kent is also, maybe she stepped back a bit because they've realised this has backfired on them a bit, and Joe Kent seems to have stepped forward. I don't know whether him and Eleanor were working together. But
Joe Kent's a bloke, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've not. I haven't done any research on him yet. But again, I've got quite good ins at senior levels of the BBC. I mean, which interestingly that thread went quiet, but their senior medical journalist, he's not a doctor of any type, but he reports on medical stuff, is a guy called Hugh Pinn, who used to be a senior business correspondent. And I used to work with him many years ago, and I bumped into him walking my dog, first time in 20 years, while I was in my peak of this. And I'm like, you know, great to see you, but I've got to show you this. I then emailed him the links, he forwarded the links on, and that's gone quiet. But he lives down the road, and so we can talk off record, you know, the minute. And that's the other thing about Victoria, Derbyshire. There's nobody, but here's the thing. This happened immediately. As soon as I was watching it, I went, Victoria at bbc.co.uk, not Victoria.Derbyshire. That's the normal. Listen, Mark Thompson is Mark.Thompson. He's the bloody, well, he was the Director General. You can get, if you work at BBC Radio 5, you might be Vanessa at that or Victoria at that. But on the bbc.co.uk URL, you only get surname, Christian name, dot surname. I've never seen an example of a single name before. I mean, how many Victorias must work for the BBC? There's got to be a hell of a lot. So she, and again, the only thing I could find on her is that she was, you know, she keeps everything private because she was abused by her father when she was young and hasn't seen him since. That's it. There's nothing else. I mean, Christ, I can find stuff out on anyone, but there's nothing. And I'm talking about, I'm really good at, I'm sure you are as well. I will change my keywords. I'll chuck all sorts of things in just to see where I can find something. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all. And that stinks. That stinks. And when the site, when the URL disappeared, I mean, it disappeared for nearly a month. In fact, it came back online the day of the ruling. And the site that's up there at the moment, again, don't forget, as a church school, it's state funded. So this is a state school fundamentally, even though it's church. As a state school, at that period, it would have been the only school in the country without a website. And as we speak, there's not one photograph on that website, not one photograph. That chocolate box, you know, surroundings of the church, the most, you know, it's a beautiful place. If I didn't know how ugly it was, you know, it's you go there and go, wow, isn't this lovely? Wouldn't I love my kids to? Well, I wouldn't want my kids to go to a church school, but you know, it's actually a spot on place. So there's not even one photograph. That website is from a template building website. That's just somebody's put that together in a hurry to stop us all going. There's no website. There's no website. There's no website. Which again, you know, that is not possible. That was a great one while I was having a go search for it. The URL disappeared. To get a URL to absolutely disappear, again, it's possible. It's not quick, and you've got to have a really good reason. Even if you take your site down and end it, the URL will be there for nearly ever. And so, you know, all of these things again just show quite how high up the tree this goes. I mean, for me personally, it's not a thought. It's a deep-rooted knowledge that this starts and ends at the palaces. That's where it is. That's that, you know. And as Ike has been saying for multiple years, that's what they do there. That they drink blood, they human sacrifice. And when I used to say that to people, they said I was mad. And there was a bit of me going, well, but now it's obvious. Obviously, it's obvious. You know, and I think they actually do get high from this blood. You know, I think the terror they put into these new souls actually gives them a high. And again, I've been to the shoe shop. I've had to just to make sure they were all there for myself. And the secret rooms, doesn't matter what you do, you can't hide them. Once they've been
if
built,
there was a proper police investigation, this would be verified within days. If there was proper, if this was regarded as a threat to national security, which it is much more than any false flags, this could be verified and exposed in days. Days. They just, even with having had cover-ups done, but just the way Ricky Dearman's account was tracked, his IP with really hardcore child pornography and distribution, and if the evidence that's around between blogs, secret groups, survivors forums,
it's empirical.
Are you familiar with Spotlight? Some things that can't be found.
Spotlight, the actors book.
No, Spotlight is a blog that's been going about 30 years. And they are, if you go to Google Images, that's how I found them. I Googled a children's home in Suffolk called Four Elms, which is now closed down, and ended up with the two people running it being murdered by the parents of one of the children that was sexually abused there. And I Googled that, and I found stuff on this Spotlight blog talking about a project called Scorpion, was in Suffolk and Norfolk, of course, where Sandringham is, and where Peter Wrighton was, and there's all sorts of connections up there. They would help runaways from children's homes, supposedly help them get to London, find somewhere to live and find a job. And they would say, right, we'll look after you, right, here's your train ticket, get off at King's Cross, you'll be met by so-and-so, they'll give you somewhere to live and they'll find your job. And of course the kids were trafficked and never seen again, either used for snuff movies or into prostitution. And another thing is that many that were so brutalized and didn't get any help then went into prostitution, and they're so ashamed that they're only now getting the courage to say, okay, they're staying quiet because they're feeling still false shame about having gone, having been a rent boy, or having, even in some cases taken the rewards. Like, if you stay quiet, you're one of us. Now, would you like to be a TV presenter? Would you like to be a rock star? What would you like to do? We'll make it happen. The other survivors group, where there's new disclosures coming daily, and it's amazing, and it's just it's inspiring. It's just inspiring, So, and it's all linking up. So the Scorpion blog goes back a long, long way. Obviously, Bill Maloney's work, and yeah. So the thing historically is all coming together, and it's like, even when they let Lord Janner off the hook, 30 new survivors have stepped up and said, no, hang on, I will give my testimony, because every time they do something outrageous, it makes people more active.
And that's a good one, because the mainstream are talking about that, and they're akinning it to the follow-up of members of the SS that are still alive. There's that classic one. There's a 93-year-old SS worker that was forced to work, he didn't kill, he was forced to work stuff out. He had two options: do what you're told or be killed. And he came forward saying, Holocaust deniers are wrong, it was real, it was there, I was working there. And now, of course, the Israelis want to prosecute him, which no doubt they will. And so actually the Janner thing's quite interesting. And of course, Peter Rock, they managed to slip that one through. I mean, Christ, he's the Prime Minister's senior advisor. He's another nonce. I mean, he couldn't make it up. And now, 10 years ago.
The thing that concerns me as well is they're still managing to pick off. Like, they got Ben Fellows into prison.
Yeah, he's in prison.
No, he's not at the moment. I went over in January as well, like, deeds of my house for his bail hearing, but actually somebody stepped up with the cash. Right. He's due back in court in July, but he was bailed with a identity tag on his ankle and gagged, not allowed to go online, not allowed to be active, and he was tagged, gagged. And anyway, he's due back in court in July. Well, he's got mounting evidence. The evidence coming up against Kenneth Clark is mind-blowing.
Well, that links to Cameron as well, obviously.
Pardon?
Well, that links to Cameron, because Cameron went to pick up the tapes.
Oh, of course. And there's actually evidence not just that Cameron did cover-ups, but that he did. He is a paedophile also.
I know.
A lot of evidence is in the you have to leave it with the survivors as to when they're willing to go like that and put their lives at risks and so on. So
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, stroke bit of advice. As I put in that email, if I didn't copy him in because, and I've said to Sabine, she's welcome to post my email on her blog, but I wanted the book to take out the line about Jason McHugh, the barrister friend of mine, who's an amazing guy. He did win the case and forced the real IRA to pay compensation to the victims of the Omaha bombing, which is unprecedented. But also, my kids go to posh school. Right just down the road, it's a lovely school. Well, they're all at different schools now, but Flame's still at a school called Notting Hill Prep in Notting Hill, and it's it's one of the most ridiculous. It's a beautiful school. The headmistress is wonderful. I've been a very happy, but broke parent for 10 years there. But one of the kids in her class at the moment, his dad is Leo Johnson, who is Boris's brother. I mean, they look absolutely identical. Leo is a lovely bloke. He's just like his brother. He's mad as a box of frogs, but he isn't a parliamentarian. He runs other businesses. And also, Boris's sister, actually, Jackie Johnson, Julia Johnson, now Julia Gray, married, teaches my daughter Latin, of all things. I'm an East End Cockney boy. I mean, how I've ended up in this world, I don't even know. But I'm dabbling with the idea, because I can easily get Leo to come out for a beer with me at any point I want, really. He lives only 10-minute walk away. But I'm wondering whether, because obviously he did go to Eton, obviously his brother was in the, I know that Leo wasn't in the Bullingham Club, but Boris obviously was. I don't know where I'm treading there. And I also know Zach Goldsmith, MP, and Zach was actually at the child abuse rally at Trafalgar Square. I was away working that weekend, so I couldn't get there, but I know Zach was there. Now, these families go back thousands of years. And that always worries me, because how do you stay at that point unless it's about power and control? But there are always good people. So I don't know. I mean, what would you do? I mean, this is someone I can front. When I say front, I can ask for help, right? Because, that would be the way I would voice it.
It's difficult to know, because you have no idea who you're talking. You have to trust your gut. You have to trust your gut, but at the same time, I've heard question marks over Boris.
Without a doubt, if it was Boris, I wouldn't talk to him. Right? But this is not Boris. This is his brother.
I would go with your instinct, because this is what everybody's having to do. Everybody's having to trust their intuition and go with it. And if you make a mistake or trip up or whatever, you just admit it, clean it up, and carry on. So.
As Sabine said the other day, when I said to her, look, there's no chance of you getting your contribution taken out of this show before it happened, I said it'll be public interest. I said the only way you can probably do it, if you try, is you'd have to get a legal team onto it now. And this is what she said, which is exactly what you just said. She said, I've got too many other things going on. When the problem comes up, I'll deal with it then.
Yeah. Really, it's
so you know what? I feel that's something I should do. Now, when it comes back to the documentary thing, well, again, I work from home. I've got an edit suite here. Every piece of content that I've seen regarding this. And by the way, your vlogs are amazing, absolutely amazing. I was completely from the very first one I saw, completely enthralled, because your delivery is just so calm, so straightforward, and so human. It'd be very easy for, as some other people are, it's very easy to rant and rave. And again, it's the way I talk to the police, which I've been toying with that idea, but because of the problems I've been having at home over it, I've had to back off, and that's why I'm sticking. I have decided, come on, mate, which is why I sent that email off today. Fuck it, I'm too far in, and because Star, my eldest daughter, is so behind me, and because I look into the eyes of my little Flame. My kids are called Star, Tiger, and Flame. My dog is called Susan. But I look into those eyes, and I know that I cut the world that is. It's already here, by the way. They used to send the sheriff's men round you to beat you up and take money and stuff like that. Now you get an email, bam, 70 quid. You get a letter, boof, kick in the bollocks. That's all they have to do to us now. People are like that about it. Everybody's scared because we're fed fear the entire time. And you know, when I was at my absolute darkest point, which was probably about 2.5 weeks ago, where I'd had a massive blow up with my wife, with two family friends as well, who are people I love and trust, by the way, who they don't. The reason that the minute the pull-free judgment was handed down, that was good enough for them. That was good enough, right? Look, of course it's all made up. Look, it's just been through the high courts. I'm like, well, that's okay. And you know, but so when I was in my darkest point, and my eldest daughter Star is from a previous relationship, and so there's in worlds like that, there's always it wasn't a crossover. I didn't leave her mum for my current wife. There was years in between. So there's not even any crossover, but there's always been a little ants. And so the only positive thing that happened out of that is my wife stormed out of the house, which in previous rows in our 15 years, that would be my job. But she stormed out of the house. And I was in the garden going, fuck, you know, knowing what I needed to do. She phoned my eldest, said, look, I'm really worried about your dad. Called me 5 minutes later and said, Dad, are you okay? And I went, no, I'm not okay. I'm very far from okay. But the reason I'm not okay is not because there's a problem with me. My problem is, and it's the classic John Lennon quote, you know, we live in an insane world run by insane people for maniacal purposes. And just by saying this, everyone's going to think I'm insane. I know I'm not mad. I know what's right and what's wrong.
So the case against you is that you're traumatized periodically with this work that you're doing.
Yeah, I'm mad. No, it's not good. Well, because it's very hard not to talk about it. You know, honestly, I'm when it comes to multitasking, I can keep everybody happy all the time. It doesn't matter if I've got in from work at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll still get up at 6 to do the school run. That's the sort, you know, because you know what? I'm better with no sleep than my wife is, so I make sure that she gets as much sleep as she can get. But here's the irony, Angie. She was sexually abused by her uncle from probably the age of 2 to up to 8. And again, the norm, you know, as in normal, it was weirdly, and this is the same with, it becomes consensual, right? Because if you're not actually being, well, they are being hit and beaten up, but in most cases, the victims are not being hit. People always think it's some terribly violent thing, but it's not. It becomes a nice little game. And the kids feel nice if they're being touched sexually. Yeah. You know, and do they know it's wrong? No, it's not if they've not been told. And I was abused. My mum, who's now dead, thank God, and that's a horrible thing to say because I don't have a dad or any brothers and sisters. She had me wanking her off at the age of 5 or 6. I didn't have the flashback memories until my late teens. Now, I don't carry that baggage around, and I have to say my wife doesn't visit. She used to, and we talked, you know, in the early stages of our marriage, we talked heavily about this. So this is something that's understood. And the first thing I did with all 3 of my children, the minute they could even get close to understanding, I explained that it was not appropriate for any adult, including mum and dad, to touch them in their private places unless they needed help and they asked for it. That's it. There's no other reason for anyone to go anywhere near there unless it's absolutely by their logical consent. And if anyone ever did try to or asked to, they needed to talk to me. My oldest, her grandmother phoned me. She was only 2.5, 3. Her grandmother phoned me up going, what are you doing telling her about it? And I didn't use it. She wouldn't understand the word paedophile. So Star had told her. And I'm like, well, she said, you're meant to be protecting her. I said, Margaret, that's what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm protecting her with knowledge. Knowledge is power. And so I'm open, honest, frank. But here's the thing, totally and 100% committed. Most of my biggest projects in life that have made me the most money or taken the most energy have always, and it took me years to work out there was a theme. The theme has been simply helping others. That's it. And this one is bigger than everything because this isn't helping others. This is helping everyone. This is everyone. There's not one person on this planet. And it's literally the whole planet. It's not this country. It's the whole planet. People that are starving in Africa. People that are being blown up in Iraq. People that are in boats in the fucking middle of the sea. All of them will benefit if this system collapses. And this system is held together by the glue of children's blood.